All right, so we have a series of teeth to make, but what we're going to do today is I'll just show you how to make one, and you can just repeat it. And by the time the next lesson comes around, I'll have all my teeth. So this is that sculpting foam, and you can get it from specialized styrofoam places. It's not super inexpensive, but a piece like this probably wouldn't cost that much. It's nice and dense. It's great for sculpting teeth. That's why I'm doing it separately than white foam. If you try to sculpt something in white foam really small, it doesn't work out that well. All right, so it's really, really simple. See whatever desired size you want. And keep, making not just a straight triangle. I want to make sort of a curve. And that's pretty much a basic shape. And this is going to go really fast. Again, I'm cutting towards myself. You guys be careful. I'm using the bigger knife. You can use the smaller one. I've got, actually, I'm going to start over again because I got a thing in there I don't like. Let's try that again. I know what I did. I was poking holes through this damn thing. Wrong end. All right. Third time's a charm. I was poking all my tools through it. Okay. You don't want to make I don't want to make a completely tubular round tooth. There's definitely some shapes to teeth. They're actually more kind of triangular as far as the base goes. See what I mean? Now, just to give you like a illustration of what I'm talking about, that's back to front, side to side. And it's not round. See? And that's it with the knife. And the other tool I'm going to go to now is my sculpting rake. I'm just going to drag it, give it some shape. Now, it doesn't have to be super pointy. If you look at any giant reptile teeth, they're not super, super pointy at the tips. They're not like shark teeth. They're a little round. It feels like it would hurt more if you got bit by that. Again, these, because of the number that you're going to be doing, depending on how many teeth you want to put in there, that's really where your time is going to be. One individual tooth isn't going to take too long. So that's my rake there, done with that guy. This next tool, standard sculpting tool, I'm going to put these, you can see how nicely it carves. A couple ridges, that's the front of my tooth. I'm going to go in the back of my tooth and do the same. There you go, there's that guy. Next tool is my little scratchy, pokey detail guy. Before I do that, this stuff is so easy to sand, you don't even need sanding paper. I just use my fingers and round out some of these edges that I have. Round out the bottom so that fits into your sockets. My hands are a little bit rougher, I guess. This will definitely exfoliate you. It's really cool. It's like, you don't even need tools for it. It's okay. So you can see how round that got, nice and round. And now I'm just going to detail it. I can do some, now knowing that I'm going to paint resin on top of this, my details can be a little bit more stark and a little bit deeper, because once you paint resin or even stipple latex on top of this, some of that's going to disappear. Now this is just for the deeper ones. At the base maybe, At the top you might do a couple of these guys. And that's that for this tool. There's not a whole lot of... And my final one, I'm just going to use one of these three-pronged rakes. I made this. You can probably buy something like it, but I just made this with 3 pieces of spring steel. And they call it spring steel because it does flex and pops back into place between brass. So now I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw some lines, not straight following the grain. I want to cut against it a little bit. Let that kind of just carve its own path. If these are too heavily detailed for you, you want something smoother, you can go a little bit lighter. And now I'm also going to go lightly the other way. A lot of times you'll see that it keeps following some of the same lines you've created, and that's, I think, really works. Makes things look a little bit more natural. You can, if you want, do some really light perpendicular lines just to give it a little bit more texture. Again, this looks really rough, but it's going to be covered in resin, so some of this is going to fill in. And I'm accounting for that. There you go. What I will do with this is I'll take a wooden dowel, pair of dikes. Okay.
I see you cut that at an angle. Can you explain?
I cut the dowel at an angle so that I can jam it into this thing without just being a blunt surface. I can also take this and put it into a block of foam after I've painted this with resin, sit it in there, let it set up, also when you paint the object itself. So there you go, that's the tooth.
Awesome. Just a few questions about these teeth. Once again, this foam is called?
So the foam that the teeth are going to be made out of is called yellow sculpting foam or golden foam. It's got several different names. I'm not sure exactly which company makes it. I get this one at a place in Burbank called Foam Mart. They have mattress foam, styrofoam, sculpture foam. So you basically just have to ask for the dense yellow sculpture foam.
Great. And we also have a question from Tatiana about fitting those into the skull. She wants to know, would you have to measure first how big the base is to be sure that it's going to fit into the skull?
This was a quick tutorial on how to sculpt a tooth. When you're actually making a tooth for your creature, you would definitely block it out first. The way I want to do that is I want to start with a wooden dowel, okay, and you can cut them to whatever length. You can rough out a tooth appropriate to the socket you're using. So I'm going to use this socket as an example. Okay, take my knife. I want it to be so long. And then you can basically rough out your form at the base, remembering not to go too far. You can always take down more to see how big you need the base of that tooth to be to fit in the socket. So that's too big. Just keep sculpting, keep sculpting. Okay, so I've got a pretty close size for this tooth. And before I finish doing the detailing, I want to map these all out. So I'm going to take a wooden dowel, basically drill that in, and you can poke a hole into the styrofoam if you want so you don't poke through the tooth. Round this out a little bit more with a tool or your hand. Doesn't matter. Nice and smooth. And see if this guy fits. There we go. So that tooth fits. Hasn't been detailed yet, but it flows well sculpturally with the jaw. You want to double check to make sure that it closes. This does not. So I'm going to make some adjustments to that tooth. Maybe it just needs a little bit smaller. Now, whether you decide you want to display it open or closed, that's going to gauge where that tooth is going to go. So it looks like it needs to come down a lot more. Let's do this way. Oh, screwed that one up. Okay. Balls. Okay, so that closes pretty well. Maybe that gets kicked back a little bit more this way. There we go. So that fits nicely, all the way closed. And that's basically what you're going to want to do with all the teeth sockets. You can number them if you want, or you can set them in a row according to how they go around the jaw. But one at a time, sculpt the tooth, see if it fits the socket, pin it in, line it up, make sure everything crisscrosses, nothing jams into itself.
So after you've taken all this time to make sure the position's correct, you're saying it is very important to number. Would it also be important to mark on the tooth what is the outside of the tooth, what's the inside of the tooth, so that it fits correctly?
But I don't do that.
It's
like I'll just do a series of random teeth knowing they're about that size. She asked me, I think she asked me a seriously basic question, like, how do you make it fit? You make a tooth and make sure it fits the socket, If you want to number each individual one, which I hate, it's a huge pain in the ass. If you want me to do that, I can.
No, you don't have to.
Okay, but I'm saying you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, For me, it's like, okay, these are 2 big ones. These are 6 relatively reasonable size ones. You sculpt one, make sure it's, it fits, that fits. I'd hard coat it, glue that in, Okay, so once you have all of your teeth individually silhouetted, sculpted out basically, and pinned inside, I will show you how to take those back out and detail a tooth individually so that you can hard coat them separately from the skull. And when both things are hard coated, you can actually paint them separately and in the end, glue each individual tooth in to where they go.